In this video, you will get lessons from this #1 bestseller book. I'm offering this lesson to you for free as part of my company's mission to help you reach your music dreams and have fun along the way. You will find the playlist with all videos from this course in the video description and comments. There may be information in previous videos that will make the video you are watching now easier to understand. I recommend watching the videos in order. Hi, I'm Dan Spencer, author of the Best Music Theory book for beginners. Over 5,000 people have purchased this book, pushing it to hit #1 bestseller in its category on Amazon. Now, here is the next lesson and the Best Music Theory course, Level 1. Welcome to the first chapter and the first lesson in this module, Rhythm 1. So for this entire module, this entire chapter, we're just going to be talking about rhythm. So what is rhythm? So rhythm is sound grouped into patterns, and the patterns are made through sound and silence. Rhythm is like a light bulb. It's either on or it's off. When it's on, there's sound. When it's off, there's silence. So if you think about it this way, we're not going to worry about whether a sound is low or high. We're just going to think, okay, is there sound or is there no sound? Another way of thinking about this is binary, the computer language with ones and zeros. 1 is their sound, 0 is their silence. So when we think about rhythm, we're only going to think in terms of is there sound and is there silence? Not what kind of sound is there? We'll get to that later. We're just thinking, is there sound and is there silence? So rhythm defines the passage of time through the presence and absence of sound. Rhythm can be fast, slow, loud, quiet. Rhythm can speed up and rhythm can slow down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to an example of rhythm, and I'm going to talk you through the different things that are happening as we listen. So this is example 1 from your book, Rhythm. Is an African kind of rhythm. But listen, we're not worried about what these different sounds sound like. You can hear that there's a sound and then there's silence. Slowing down, speeding up. See, rhythm can speed up. Faster, faster. Getting quiet. Very quiet, and slowing down. So this example is pretty interesting because there's a lot going on. There's different drums, there's different percussion instruments. We can hear that each instrument is making a sound and then there's silence, and that's how we're hearing that there's rhythm. So again here, there's sound and silence. We're not worried about how high or how low a sound is. So those are all examples of rhythm, where there is sound and there is silence, and we hear that things are happening just based off the fact that there is sound and then there is silence. In this lesson, you are going to learn about pulse. Now, a pulse is a type of rhythm. It's a group of identical sounds that repeats at the same volume, so the same loudness, and at the same speed. So it's not going to speed up, it's not going to slow down. No pulse is louder or more quiet than the pulse that comes before or after it. So a pulse is a group of completely identical sounds that are all exactly the same. There's no difference between them. And we can see from this nifty little graphic here that sure enough, we can see noise levels here. So this is talking about how loud something is. We can see time here. So this is talking about, well, how long are we listening to this for? And then we have our sounds and then silences, sounds. And we can see that all these sounds They're exactly the same. And they have the same amount of space between them, and they're all exactly the same loudness or the same volume. Let's listen to the example of a pulse. Okay, every sound is exactly the same. No sound is different from the sound that came before, and there's an even amount of time between each sound. We're going to listen to it one more time. Okay, bringing it on back. Here it is. Listen to it. Exactly the same every single time. It's so the same that you can actually anticipate and feel and guess when the next one's going to come because it's so even. It's so reliable. So that's a pulse. A pulse is a type of rhythm because there sure enough is sound, and then there is silence. And we're hearing the pulse because there is, well, there's sound, and then there is silence. In this lesson, you are going to understand the second use of the word pulse. And when we use pulse in this context, it actually means a feeling. So the word pulse can also describe the underlying rhythmic movement of a piece of music that is felt by you, but not seen or ever written down. Interesting, huh? So when you hear a piece of music, you might start to clap along with it. When you clap along with it, you are feeling the pulse. No one's telling you to clap along with it, but you sort of instinctively feel where to clap or where to bob your head. That's you feeling the pulse. So because pulse is subjective, that means you might feel a pulse different from how I feel a pulse, and we both feel a pulse different than someone else feels a pulse. Many different people can feel different pulses from the same music. So we're going to do a little experiment here so you can really understand and get a feeling for this second meaning of the word pulse. I'm going to put on a piece of music. I'm not going to do anything. You are going to clap along with the piece of music wherever it is you feel is right. There's no wrong answers here. Wherever you feel is the right place to clap along with this piece of music, you're going to clap along with it. Now, if you're somewhere where you can't make a lot of noise, just take 2 fingers and tap them on your palm like this. That way you're not going to make a big clapping sound, but you'll still be able to clap. Okay, here we go. Let's listen to this piece of music, and you clap along with it wherever you feel is the right place to clap along with it. Clap. Good. Keep it going. Keep clapping. Okay, now I'm going to give you a demonstration of different pulses. So perhaps you clapped here. Now some of you might be saying, no, that's not where I was clapping. I was clapping here. And still others of you might be saying, well, Dan, I wasn't clapping in either of those places. This is where I was feeling the pulse. All of those are the right answer. Pulse is subjective. You might feel the pulse as being here. Now, can you feel where I'm clapping? It makes sense. It feels right. This also feels right. As does this. So pulse is subjective, and this is the other meaning of the word pulse. So if you hear a piece of music and you nod your head with the music or you clap with the music, this is the pulse. So pulse can mean a sound that is the same every single time it happens. There's no change in the volume or in the way that it sounds or how it sounds. It sounds exactly the same every single time. You can also think of pulse as the feeling when you listen to a piece of music. In the next 2 lessons, we're going to unpack the word beat. What is a beat? What does it mean? And how does it relate to rhythm and also pulses? So a beat is a type of rhythm. In the same way that a pulse was a type of rhythm, beat is a type of rhythm. So you can call beat rhythm, but a beat is not a pulse and a pulse is not a beat. So a beat is often counted or connected to, associated with, thought of being part of a particular pulse. When this association, when this connection, when this thought happens, a beat is then called the beat, and it is felt like the pulse. So when you feel the beat, I'm sure you've heard a song in your life, or you've heard someone say, "Can you feel the beat?" What they mean is, can you feel the pulse? Can you also hear where the pulse should be in the fact that you're feeling that pulse? Where we, in the last lesson, where we were clapping along with the music, maybe you clapped in one of those 3 different pulse places. When someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" what they're saying is, can you feel this pulse that I am also feeling? So a beat can align with a pulse sound in the sense that a beat can be even in the same way that a pulse is even. But it's not going to be exactly the same every single time. That's what's the difference between the pulse and the beat. But a beat can still be even, just like a pulse sound. A beat, just like we talked about, can also align with the pulse feeling. So someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" What they're saying is, can you feel the pulse that I am feeling? Now, a beat is different from a pulse because it can be loud, it can be quiet, and each sound in the beat does not have to be the same as the beat that came before it. So a beat is actually made up of different pulses that are all different from each other, and sometimes there can be more than one sound or more than one pulse happening at a time, and all these different sounds or pulses come together to create a beat. So let's look at this nifty little graphic here. And sure enough, you can see that sometimes there's 2 sounds happening at the same time. There's 2 different pulses happening at the same time. So using this graphic as an example, let's break down and understand how many different pulses are happening here. So we have pulse number 1 is down here. We have pulse number 2 is here. And we can see pulse number 1, there's no other pulse number 1s, because there's no other sounds happening at the same noise level there. So by definition, if it's not happening at the same noise level, it's not going to be a pulse. Also, if it doesn't sound the same, it's not going to be a pulse. Here's pulse number 2. Are there any other pulse number 2s? Nope. No pulse number 2s. All right, how about pulse number 3? We're going to do pulse number 3 in a different color here. So pulse number 3. Looks like we have 2 pulse number 3s. Okay, so a pulse can repeat. Yeah, that's what pulses do. They repeat. Now let's get one more color. Let's do blue. How about? We have pulse number 4, and we have pulse number 5. So within this one beat, we can have 5 different sounds, 5 different pulses that all come together to create the feeling of a beat happening. In the next lesson, we are going to listen to and break down a complete audio example of a beat. In this lesson, you are going to hear an audio example of a beat that's actually going to line up with this graphic, so we can understand how all those different pulses can come together to create something completely different called a beat. This is example 3 from the book. So you can hear that there are definitely different things happening here. Okay, now let's go through and break it down. So watch for me. When I point like this is when pulse number 1 and pulse number 2 are happening. And we have pulse number 1 and pulse number 2. We're going to color code these. Oh, how about red? These are pulse number 1 and pulse number 2. So whenever these happen, I'm going to go like this. Here we go. Pulse number 1 and 2. Okay, so that's pulse number 1 and 2. 1 plus 2. Now you can hear that in pulse 1 and 2, there's one really low sound, and there's sort of a higher clicking sound. There's like a thump, like someone's dropping something, and then there's a little click up above it. Let's listen to it one more time. Right there. Hear that? It was like something fell, went thump, and something also went click. Okay, so the thump, that's pulse number 1, that's the lower one. And then that higher click, that's pulse number 2. Now let's listen out for pulse number 3. And remember, pulse number 3 actually happens 2 times. So for every 1 time that we have pulse number 1 and 2, we're going to have pulse number 3 is going to happen 2 times. See that? We have 2 3s. Now let's get our little color coding going here. All right, so here's pulse number 3. Okay, we're going to listen to the music now, and I'm going to point out again with my finger where pulse number 3 is happening. Pulse number 3 is sort of a hollow clicking sound. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, so pulse number 3, let's listen to it one more time so you can really get it. It's that hollow clicking sound. That right there, a little pop. That. See, there it is again. There it is again. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Pulse 3. Okay, so let's unpack what we have so far in terms of our pulses. We have pulse number 1 and 2. Now, every time pulse number 1 and 2 happen, they sound exactly the same. They also happen at even intervals of time. So 1 and 2, they come back around every single time they're exactly the same. That means they are both pulses, but they're 2 different pulses. Now, pulse number 3. Every single time it comes back around, it's the same volume, it sounds the same, it's not speeding up, it's not slowing down, so it is a different pulse from pulse number 1 and 2. Now, one more thing to point out, I know I mentioned this earlier, but this really is important, that pulse number 3 is happening 2 times for every 1 time that pulse 1 and 2 happens, and then pulse 3 happens 2 times. And pulse 3 is still happening at even intervals. It sounds exactly the same. It is a pulse, for sure. Now let's talk about pulse number 4 and 5. We're going to give these guys the blue color. Okay. I'm going to point out again with my finger every single time pulse 4 and 5 come around. That right there, that sound. That. There it is again. So it might be a little hard for you to hear that there's 2 separate sounds there, but there are. There's sort of this drum sound, this pop happening, and then also there's another hollow clicking sound that's different from the other hollow clicking sounds happening on top of it. There it is. Can you hear that there's a drum hit and a hollow clicking sound there? If you can't, that's okay. Just as long as you can hear that 4 and 5 are happening together and that they are different from 1 plus 2 and 3, that's all you really need. So there you go. Every time we go through this series of pulses, 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2 is happening 1 time, 3 is happening 2 times, and 4 plus 5 are happening 1 time. Let's listen through this example one more time, and I'm going to call out the beats as they happen. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. Listen. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus 5, 3. Excellent. I will see you in the next lesson where we are going to tie up all things beat. I will see you there. In this lesson, you're going to learn the rest of the uses of the word beat. So as we discussed before, beat can be used to describe a particular pulse. When someone says, "Can you feel the beat?" what they mean is, can you feel the pulse that I am feeling? And they actually may mean a particular beat, and we'll get to that in a couple of lessons when we talk about something called time signatures. Another use of the word beat is for an instrumental production for hip-hop and sometimes for pop or dance music that is ready and waiting for a singer or a rapper or MC, if you will, to sing or rap over the beat to make a song. An instrumental is when you have a piece of music that is just instruments. There's no vocals, there's no singing, there's no talking. Sometimes maybe there are little background pieces of singing or talking, but there's nothing that would capture your attention and make it feel like a song that you would sing along with on the radio or sing along with from a streaming service. So when we have just the piece of music without the rapping, without the singing, that instrumental piece of music is called a beat. In this lesson, you are going to learn about and understand how to use a metronome. Now, a metronome is a device or software application that produces a sound at even intervals of time. Well, what does that sound like? Sure enough, that's a pulse. Now, the thing about a metronome is you can actually speed it up and slow it down. You can change the speed of the pulse, but it's always going to generate a completely even pulse. Metronome's speed is measured by how many times it makes a sound, a pulse, or a click every minute. So like in a car, when you measure miles per hour, that's how you measure the speed. For metronomes, you're going to measure beats per minute or clicks per minute. How many times does it click in a minute? Every click of the metronome is considered a beat for the examples in this book, even though, and you might be thinking about this, well, hang on a second, Dan. You said if a sound sounds the same every single time and it's produced at even intervals of time and it's not louder or more quiet than the sound that came before it and it sounds the same as the sound that came before it, that sounds like a pulse. And well, you'd be right. But this is just the terminology that's used, so we're going to roll with it. Every time a metronome clicks, it's called a beat. And we measure a metronome in beats per minute, or BPM. Throughout this book and this course, you will see a metronome icon. This is a metronome icon. And whatever the number in the icon is, that's how many beats per minute you should do the exercise or the activity at. So, how to use a metronome. You can check out the description below this video for links to free software metronomes so you don't have to spend any money. That'll save you between $20 to $100, depending on the metronome you get. I will be using my trusty physical metronome. Now, sometimes during this course or working with the book, you will find that certain examples are a little challenging to do at the speed of the metronome icon. If that's the case, just slow the metronome down a little bit and you will be good to go. So there are three main types of metronomes. There are digital metronomes, there are software metronomes, and there are mechanical or electromechanical metronomes. The free metronomes are the software metronomes that you can download, you can put on your device. There's even some metronomes you can get on the internet. However, just a word of warning that if you do an internet metronome, your connection to the internet will actually determine if the metronome is actually going to give you a consistent pulse, because if your connection speeds up and slows down, that can actually mess with how accurate the metronome is on the internet. So I definitely recommend downloading a metronome onto your device. So take a moment, go grab one of those free metronomes, put it on your device, and then come back here and we'll finish this video together. Pause the video, get yourself a metronome if you don't have one already. Okay, and we are back. So you're going to take your metronome, you're going to set your metronome to 60, 60, and press start or play on your metronome. Listen to the pulse. Now what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to anticipate. You're going to try and feel the pulse in addition to hearing the pulse. And you're going to wait until you can hear the pattern of the pulse. Wait until you can feel like you know when the next click, when the next sound is going to happen. And when you feel like you can anticipate and know when the next click is going to happen, take 2 fingers in your palm so you're not louder than the metronome, because you still need to listen to the metronome, and quietly clap with every click. Try not to clap before the click or after the click. Clap exactly with the click every single time. Practice doing that a little bit, and I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to learn all about a count-in and actually learn how to perform a count-in for yourself. So a count-in is giving a beat or a pulse with spoken words or sounds, so musicians can start making music at the same time and at the same speed as each other, or that you can set yourself up for success and tell yourself what speed you're going to be doing the music at. So this is like an on your mark, get set, go, or a ready, steady go for musicians. The beginning of the following songs feature a count-in. You can actually pause this video and go listen to them. They're in the description below. I Saw Her Standing There by the Beatles, Patience by Guns N' Roses, and Hey Ya by Outkast. And you will hear at the beginning of each one of those songs a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, or in the case of Hey Ya, a 1, 2, 3, And those sounds and words are a count-in. They're telling everyone involved in making the music how fast the song is going to be and when the song is going to start. So go ahead, pause this video, give that a listen, and then pop back in, and you are going to learn how to perform a count-in for yourself. You are going to learn how to do a count-in in groups of 4, which is what you just heard in all 3 songs. I Saw Her Standing There, Patience, and Hey Ya. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 that happened before the music started. So you're going to learn how to do that. You're also going to learn how to count in for 3, because in this book and in this course, you're going to be actually working in groups of 4 and in groups of 3. Set a metronome to 60. Listen to the pulse for a moment, or 4, or 5, many moments, until you can really anticipate the speed of the pulse and where the next pulse is going to be. So you're listening to the metronome until you can hear the pattern and anticipate when the next click is going to happen. Once you feel like you know when that next click is going to happen, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 aloud with each number you speak happening at the same time as a click. Just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Now try to be precise as possible. Speak exactly with the clicking sound, not before or after. Just like in the last lesson, we wanted to clap exactly with the click. Here's a count-in for 4 one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. To count into 3, we're going to follow the same process. We're going to listen to the metronome until we can anticipate when the next click is going to happen. So listen. Once you feel like you can anticipate and feel when that next click is going to happen, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, along with the metronome, with each number lining up with a click, like this. 1, 2, 3. Do it again. Listening. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. That is how you perform a count-in. Practice doing a count-in with a free metronome, and I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to learn about the word tempo, what it means, how to use it, and also how it can actually be very confusing and very hard to tell what the tempo of a song actually is if you don't know music theory. So tempo is an Italian word that means time. The word tempo is used in music to describe how slow or fast a piece of music or musical phrase or little piece of music should be played. It is also used when listening to a piece of music to describe how fast it is being played. So when we talk about multiple tempos, the plural, so if we have more than one tempo, is actually tempi in formal language. Just like if you have one piece of spaghetti, it's actually a spaghetto. And if we have more than one spaghetto, we have spaghetti. If you have one little drawing on a wall, that's a graffito. If you have lots of drawings or a complicated drawing on a wall, that is graffiti. So in Italian, more than one is E and one is O. So tempo means one, tempi means more than one, but more often than not, you are going to hear musicians say tempos. So they take the word tempo, and then in English, we put S on the end of words when there's more than one of them. So we say tempos. Either one is correct. Everyone is going to understand what you mean when you say tempos. Only people who understand music theory or who have had some music education are going to understand what you mean when you say tempi. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk you through a couple of tempo examples. You're going to see that there's some videos under this one in this lesson. You're going to pause this video. You're going to go listen to each example and then come back to this. You don't need to listen to the whole song, maybe 20 or 30 seconds. So the first song to listen to is At Last by Etta James. So go ahead and pause this video, listen to At Last by Etta James, and then come back. Okay, that is a slow song. That is a slow tempo. Now listen to a medium speed tempo. Listen to Ho Hey by the Lumineers. Again, that video is right down there. Pause this, go listen to that, and then come back. Okay, so now you've listened to slow, medium. Now let's listen to something fast. Go down and listen to September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Pause this, go listen, then come back. Remember, you don't need to listen to the whole song. Excellent. Okay, so you can hear pretty clearly that At Last, well, that's a slow moving song. It's sort of like molasses. It's just rolling along real slow. Ho Hey, it's moving. It's kind of walking. It's grooving along. And then September, it's really moving quite fast. That's like someone power walking or jogging. It's moving quite quickly. Now we're going to listen to 3 more examples where it's not going to be quite so obvious how fast the piece of music really is. So let's start with an easy one. Go down and listen to Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. Pause this, go listen, then come back. Okay, now listen to Jump Start by Greg Howe. Pause this, go listen, come back. Now what you may have noticed with Jump Start is it feels like a fast tempo. It doesn't seem to be very medium. That thing feels like it's moving, doesn't it? It sounds fast. Now, here's the crazy one. Pause this, go listen to Love is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar, then come back. Okay, now you've listened to Love is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar. Now, let me ask you this. Which one sounds faster to you? Jump Start, our medium speed by Greg Howe, or Love is a Battlefield, our fast one by Pat Benatar? If you said that Jump Start actually feels faster to you, that's actually kind of normal. A lot of people hearing these 2 examples say that Jump Start sounds to be faster than Love is a Battlefield. But if you go back and listen to the drums of Love is a Battlefield, they're actually going very, 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 very fast. You're going to learn in Module 2, Chapter 2, about why drums are so important to actually understand how fast of a piece of music is. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand all about lines. So music is usually written on lines, either a single line or the staff. The staff is 5 parallel lines, and you'll see examples in this book both using the single line and also the staff, which is the 5 parallel lines right here. So every time you see these 5 lines together in music, that's called the staff. You'll notice that with your course, you got a free download of a piece of, well, paper that's covered with staff. And the reason is you're going to be using that piece of paper to write music. Also, sometimes you will see music written just on a single line like this. More often than not, though, you are going to see music on the staff. I will see you in the next lesson. In the last lesson, you learned all about the lines, the single line and the staff, where we said music gets written on it. Well, what do we write on the single line and the staff? Well, those are going to be called notes. So musicians play, read, and write rhythm with symbols called notes. Each kind of note is written differently. So let's go in and understand the different parts of notes. So what we have here is called an open notehead, and it's called open because, well, there's this hollow space in the middle here. So it's open. It looks like a donut. It looks like a tire. Yep, great. Open note head. Now here's a slightly different style of open note head. You can see that this open note head over here, our first open note head, is pretty much level, whereas this note head is tilted up. But it's also an open note head. We can see that sure enough, the middle is hollow, just like a donut, just like a tire. That's an open note head. And then we have a stem. Now the stem is this line right here that comes down from the note head. So we have an open note head and a stem. The last type of note for us to look at is a closed note head. So this is called a closed note head because, as you can see, the whole note head is colored in. So that's a closed note head. And the closed note head can also have a stem. So we have open note head that is pretty much level, an open note head that's tilted with a stem, and then we have a closed note head with a stem. So each one of these 3 types of notes has a specific name. We're not just going to call them open note head and stem note and closed note head and stem note. We're going to give them actual names. So when we just have an open note head, no stem, we're going to call this a whole note. And a whole note is a very long duration. It takes up 4 counts. Well, what are counts, you say? Well, we'll get there. It takes up 4 counts. A half note, that's the open note head with the stem, gets a medium duration of 2 counts. Again, what's a count? We're going to get there. But you can see that, well, there's half as many counts per half note than there are for whole note. Whole note gets 4 counts. Half note gets only 2 counts. So it's shorter. And then there's a quarter note, and the quarter note is the closed note head with the stem. And that gets the short duration. Each quarter note gets 1 count each. So that's half the rhythmic value, or half the duration, of the half note. So we have a whole note that gets 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a half note that gets 2 counts. 1, 2. And a quarter note that gets 1 count. So that sounds like this. We're going to think of a count as a click. Clicks are counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was a whole note. Here's a half note. 1, 2. Wow, that was a lot shorter. Here's a quarter note. 1. Here's a whole note again. I'm going to get the pulse. Now I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a whole note. Here's a half note. and get the pulse. Then I'm just going to count. Here we go. 1, 2. A lot shorter than the whole note. Here's a chord note. Listening. Then when I count, it starts. 1. That's it. So you can see that the whole note lasts for 4 clicks or 4 counts. A half note lasts for 2 clicks or 2 counts. And a quarter note lasts for 1 click or 1 count. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand how to write whole, half, and quarter notes. Those are the 3 types of notes we just talked about in the last lesson. But before we get there, we've got to talk about the staff. So in the staff, there's 5 lines and there's 4 spaces between the lines. Now to keep track of which line and which space we're talking about on the staff, we're going to give each line and each space a number. So the line that is closest to the floor is going to be line 1. Next line up is line 2. The line closest to the ceiling is line 5. The space between line 1 and line 2, we're going to call that space 1. The space between line 2 and line 3, we're going to call that space 2. Between line 3 and 4, space 3. Between line 4 and 5 is space 4. So what we're going to focus on for this lesson is how to write note heads. We have 2 main types of note heads, but ultimately 3 note heads that we're going to learn how to write. So the first type of note head is a closed note head. So closed note head should be written as a tilted oval that looks just like this, and you fill it in. We have open note heads for half notes, which are tilted ovals just like closed note heads, but there's nothing in the middle. Looks like a donut, looks like a tire. And then there's open note heads for whole notes. Now these are different. You see they're not tilted in the same way that the open note head for the half note is tilted. And these are going to be open note heads for whole notes. So when you write a note head in a space, so space 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the staff, you should make sure that the note head touches each line but does not go past, you don't want to see it go past the lines of the staff. It stays contained in the space. And we can see that's the same for closed note heads, open note heads for half notes, and also open note heads for whole notes. And really, just again, the difference between the half notes and the whole note open note head is that there is no tilt for the open note heads for whole notes. They're just an even oval, and the half note heads, they're tilted at a 45-degree angle. But if you get it to about just a little bit of a tilt, that's going to be good enough. Now, when you write note heads on lines, you want to make sure that the note head is going about halfway into the space. See that? It's going about halfway into the space. You do not want to write a note head that looks like this and takes up the entire line and both spaces above and below the line. We really need to see those spaces, this space here and this space here around the note head. We can see that for closed note heads. We can see that for open note heads, for half notes, and also open note heads for whole notes, that there's always this space above and below the note head. And one more thing to point out for note heads written on lines is you can see the line of the staff going through the middle of the note head. You see that line going through the middle? Right here as well, the line going through the middle. And that's the same for open note heads for half notes and for whole notes. The line goes through the middle. In the next lesson, we're going to jump into some staff paper and practice writing some closed and open note heads. I'll see you there. In this lesson, we're going to work on writing some closed note heads and some open note heads. You're going to see me looking down because I'm actually going to be writing and marking up on my iPad in real time, and you are going to see what I am writing. Very good. In real time. So we're going to start off with some closed note heads inside of the spaces of the staff. You can pick any line of staff. Now what I mean by that is this right here is a line of staff. This right here is a line of staff, and each staff has 5 lines, and that's where that can get confusing. So not line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the staff, but the entire line of that group of 5 lines. You can pick any one that you want. We're going to go in, we're going to write a closed note head in space 1. Just like that. Make sure you color it in. There you go. Now let's write a closed note head in space 2. Remember to tilt your oval. There you go. See, my ovals are not perfect. Your ovals do not need to be perfect. If you have very neat handwriting, congratulations, good for you. Make those ovals perfect. For those of us without perfect handwriting, we're just going to do our best over here. And tilt the oval. There we go. And tilt the oval. There we go. So there are people whose jobs it is to make music notes look really pretty. They are called engravers. It's a whole professional field where literally their job is to make music notes just look really good. I am not an engraver. I am a teacher and a coach, so I can write music pretty well, but you'll see it's going to be a little bit messy and not completely perfect like it is printed out in the book, and that's fine. You don't need to have perfect note writing. That's actually not what's important here. What's important here is that you just follow the rules. You get the notes good enough that you can read them and other people can read them, and we will let the music engravers do their music engraving thing. So now in these spaces, let's write some half note open note heads. Remember, these are going to be tilted ovals. We're going to start in space 1. There we go. Space 2. See that one, the problem there is you see it's not actually touching the line, so I'm going to do that one again because you want your notes in spaces to touch both lines of stuff. There we go. That's much better. Okay, space 3. Got a better tilt on that one. And space 4. Again, we're not looking for perfection here. There we go. Okay, so closed note heads, open note heads tilted for half notes at a 45-degree angle. Now let's do some open note heads for whole notes in the spaces of the staff. Remember, these are not going to be tilted. We're just going to do ovals that touch both lines. There we go. There's 1, space 2. There we go. Space 3. Boom. And space number 4. There we go. Now, let's redo that one again. Make sure it's... There you go. Touching the line. Bingo. Okay. So there's our note heads in spaces. Now we're going to do some note heads on lines. Let's start with closed note heads on lines, starting on line 1. So I actually like to start with my pen or pencil halfway between the lines, and that way I can actually do a pretty good job of making sure that I keep that space between the note head and the line above it. Now you can see that there's no line of staff down here, so I'm just trying to keep the note even and do it about halfway to where I would imagine the line below it to be. Okay, let's do a closed note head on line number 2 of the staff. Again, starting, see, that's where I'm starting with my pen. I'm starting halfway between, and that way I can make sure I get a good distance. So halfway between, go down, come around, color it in. Again, it's not a perfect oval. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, halfway between, come halfway down, make it an oval, color it in. Very good. All right, 2 more. On line 4, start halfway, come down, and around, color it in. That's 4. And then on 5, start what would be halfway if there was another line above. Come down. My hand slipped a little bit. That's okay. There you go. And color it in. So that's closed note heads on lines. Now let's do open note heads for half notes on the line. So these are going to be the tilted open note heads. Here we go. Again, starting right there, starting halfway between the two lines. These ones go a little faster because you don't have to stop to color them in. There we go. Start halfway, come halfway down, circle it out. Make sure that you can see the line of the staff going through the hollow part of the note, or the hole of the note, or the hole of the note head. There we go. Okay, now let's do open note heads for whole notes on the lines. Again, starting halfway, coming down. These ones are not going to be tilted. Just try and do these as regular ovals as best you can. Just regular ovals. There we go. There we go. And imagining a line coming down. There we go. That last one was a little rough, huh? Okay, so that is writing note heads closed and the two styles of open in lines and spaces of the staff. I will see you in the next lesson. Practice doing this a whole bunch of times. See you there. In the last lesson, you learned all about how to write note heads. Now, in this lesson, you're going to learn about how to write stems. So notes with the stem downs, that means the note head is above and the stem is going down, should always look like a letter P. Always. The way you're going to know that the stem is on the correct side of the note head is for stem down. It looks like a letter P. There you go. Looks like a letter P. And the way you know if you're writing a correct note head with a stem, when the stem is going up from the note head, is if it looks like a letter D. Lowercase d. Looks like a D. Now, if you see Q's and B's, you're doing something wrong. So if your note head looks like a letter Q, or if it looks like a letter B, you are doing it wrong. We just need P's and D's. So stem down notes, where the stem is coming down from the note head, you should always have the stem on the left side of the note head, and stem up notes where the stem is coming up from the note head. We need the stem on the right side of the note head. Now let's talk about stem length. How long should a stem be? So a stem should be the length of 4 lines of the staff. So this can get a little tricky when you're writing note heads in different places on the staff, but do your best to be consistent. Again, I'm not expecting you to be a music engraver. Just do your best to make sure your music is legible. Write a note head in space number 4, right here, space 4 of the staff. And then the stem should be 1, 2, 3, 4 staff lines long. And you can see that when we come down to the next note on line number 4, that the stem is going down 1/2 space. So it's still 1, 2, 3, 4 staff lines long. It's just starting in the middle of space 3, and then it's going to what would be 1/2 space below line 1. You can see where it starts to get tricky when we start to run out of lines. You have to sort of imagine the space of this 4th line here, even though it's not there. Same thing here going down. Now you can see as well, if you write a note head in space 1 of the staff, sure enough, 1, 2, 3, 4 staff lines up. That's the length of the stem for notes. Now, how do we know where to write stem down notes and where to write stem up notes? Well, it's actually pretty simple. All the notes on and above line 3 of the staff are always going to be stem down. Now, all the notes that are below line 3 of the staff, from space 2 down to line 1, those are all going to be stem up. So you can see, sure enough, stem down to the middle line, which is line 3, and then stem up below the middle line. I will see you in the next lesson where I'm going to walk you through writing whole, half, and quarter notes on space 4, line 3, and space 1 of the staff. I'll see you there. In this lesson, I'm going to give you a demo of writing quarter, half, and whole notes on different lines and spaces of the staff. I think it's very good to practice writing your note heads in space 4 and in space 1, because then it's very easy to measure your stem length, and then you can start to get used to how long your stem should be, and then that can start to translate over to when you write note heads on different lines of the staff. Little point, for rhythm, it doesn't actually matter where you write the notes. It's not going to change how the notes sound, because with rhythm, we're just concerned about on, off. Is the light switch on? Is there sound? Is the light switch off? Is there silence? Okay. We're going to start with a quarter note in space 4. So we're going to write a closed note head in space 4, colored in, and then we're going to write a stem that is 4 staff lines long. Now you can see I'm using my iPad, so I'm actually cheating a little bit to make my stems perfectly straight. When I hold my Apple Pencil, it snaps that line totally straight. But if you had a ruler, or you grabbed that music theory ruler that I recommended to you in the intro video, then you're going to be good to go. You can use that music theory ruler or just a regular ruler to make sure that your lines are straight. Okay, now let's do a quarter note in space 1. So we're going to write a closed note head, and then we're going to write a stem that is 1, 2, 3, 4 staff lines long. Perfect. Now we're going to write a quarter note on line 3 of the staff. So start in the middle, go down to the middle, come back around, color it in, and then 4 staff lines long is the stem. There you go. That's how you write a quarter note. You're always going to write the note head first and then add the stem. Let's walk through writing half notes. So here's going to be a half note in space number 4 of the staff. Great. Make sure you have that tilt for about 45 degrees, and then bring the stem down. There you go. That's your half note. Now we're going to do a half note in space 1 of the staff. Up, around, good to go, add a stem, don't you know. So you can see, actually, I would critique this and say that this stem should be moved over a little bit to the right. And let me show you the difference. So remember how this looks. And then this is how the stem really should be. Attached to the side of the note head, not towards the middle of the note head. Now let's do a half note on line 3. There we go. Boom, there's a note head. And there's the stem. There you go. So quarter notes and half notes. Let's wrap it up with whole notes. Whole note in space 4. There we go. Oh, we have a little extra hanger on there. Oh, there we go. Very nice. Now we're going to do a whole note in space 1. There we go. That one has a little bit of a tilt to it, which we really don't want. We want it to be more even Steven. So let's try to even that one out. There we go. And then we're going to write a whole note on line 3 of the staff again, starting in the middle, and then make the whole note. There we go. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to learn how to actually clap and count rhythms, because one of the best ways for you to really understand the difference between whole, half, and quarter notes is going to be to clap and count them. So we're going to make it easy on you so you don't need to get really good at reading music. We're going to add a couple of hints in there to help you out. So to clap your hands, you're going to have a little up arrow, and to remind you to count, we're going to put the word count. So let's take a look at our first example. Sure enough, for every quarter note that there is, we have a little arrow for you to clap. Before you actually read the music, practice just counting and clapping quarter notes. And that's going to sound like this. You can put a metronome on. When you can anticipate when the next click is going to be, then you're going to do one clap with every single click, like this. That first one was a little early, but that's okay. Now, once you can do this comfortably, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do the next step, which is to actually read and count through example 6. So you're going to give yourself a count in. Also, keep in mind you can follow along with me here, clap with me here, but also look at example 6 and try to actually clap and count along with example 6. So step number 1 is we're going to set the metronome to 60, because sure enough, our little tempo icon over there on the left next to the number 6 says 60. Then you're going to listen to the click until you can anticipate the speed of the click and you can feel the pattern. You know where the next click is going to happen. And then you're going to give yourself a count-in of 4, and then you're going to clap and continue counting. So watch one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you notice I just counted to 4 times, and sure enough, I read the music from left to right, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, clapping every single time I saw one of those arrows line up with the note. And that is how you read music, from left to right, top to bottom, just like a book. Now, in the example for number 6, if you look at the book example, there's actually going to be a little green line that's going to show you every single chord note you're on so you can follow along visually. That's another reason I really recommend using those examples. In the next lesson, you are going to learn how to clap and count half notes. I will see you there. In this lesson, you are going to understand how to clap and count half notes. So before you go and try and read, clap, and count through example 7, just practice clapping and counting half notes by themselves. So for half notes, we're going to listen to the click. Then we're going to clap on one beat. We're going to skip the next. We're going to clap on the next beat, skip the next. So we're going to alternate clicks, clapping and waiting. So it sounds like this: clap, wait, clap, wait, just like that. Once you get comfortable doing that, you're going to add in 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's always nice to give yourself a count in before you start. So give yourself a ready, set, go, and on your marks, get set, go with the count in of 1, 2, 3, 4 before you start clapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clap on 1, skip 2, clap on 3, skip 4, clap on 1, skip 2, clap on 3, skip 4, clap on 1, skip 2, clap on 3, skip 4. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now, once you're comfortable actually clapping and counting half notes, then you're actually going to clap and count example 7. So to do that, put the metronome on, hear the pulse. When you can feel the speed of the metronome, you can anticipate and you know when the next click is going to be, when you can hear the pattern, you're going to give yourself a count in of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to start again reading from left to right, clapping where we have the arrows lining up with the count and the notes. That's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do recommend watching example 7 a couple of times because there's this nice little green bar that shows you exactly where you are at all times. Try clapping and counting along with me in this lesson. Also with example 7, practice clapping your half notes by themselves. Then try doing example 7 by yourself, literally just looking at the book with a metronome, clapping, and try to get it to sound exactly the same as what I did here and also how it sounds in the example. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand and learn how to clap and count whole notes. So just like with quarter notes and half notes, we're going to follow the same process here. First, we're going to understand whole notes by themselves without actually trying to read them. So we're going to put the click on when you can anticipate the speed of the click. Once you can anticipate where the click is going to be, you're going to give yourself a count in of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to clap on 1, you're going to skip 2, you're going to skip 3, you're going to skip 4. You're going to clap on 1, you're going to skip 2, you're going to skip 3, you're going to skip 4. And then once you're comfortable clapping on 1, skipping 2, 3, 4, then you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 as you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, skip 2, skip 3, skip 4. Clap 1, skip 2, skip 3. Move your hands. Clap with me. 1, skip 2, skip 3, skip 4. Clap 1, skip 2, skip 3, skip 4. Now count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's whole notes by themselves. Now let's do whole notes actually going through example 8. So for example 8, I'm going to put the metronome on. I'm going to hear the pulse. Once I can anticipate the speed of the metronome, I'm going to give myself a count in. And as soon as I finish my count in of 1, 2, 3, 4, the next one I say, I'm going to be counting and clapping through this entire example from left to right. Here we go. Okay, getting the speed. I know when the next one's going to be. Counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember to use example 8 so you can see where the count is and you can actually follow along. Those book examples are going to help coach you on how to actually read the music because that little green line goes through the notes and you can hear the clicks. Practice clapping whole notes by themselves. Go through measure 8. Clap and count through me in this lesson and then try and put all that down. Just get a metronome, give yourself a count and try and clap and count through example 8. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand bar lines and measures because bar lines and measures work together and you will see why in just a moment. First, let's talk about bar lines and what they mean. So bar lines divide groups of notes or show other things. So for example, a single bar line or a regular bar line divides groups of notes. That's just one single line like this going down the staff. The staff is 5 horizontal lines. A bar line is just one single vertical line. Then we can have a double bar line, and a double bar line is 2 like regular bar lines next to each other with a little space in between. And a double bar line divides the sections of a song. So a regular bar line divides the notes. Double bar line divides sections of a song, or you'll also see it at the end of some exercises. So for example, if there's only part of a song or a couple of notes from a song and its song doesn't end all the way, sometimes we'll put a double bar line at the end of that just to show, well, it's not really the end of the song. There's more of the song, but that's all we're going to see for now. and then a final bar line, that's one regular bar line, and then another line that's about 3 or 4 times thicker than the regular bar line, so thin, thick, and this final bar line shows the end of a song. So our 3 types of bar lines are a regular bar line, a double bar line, and a final bar line. Now let's look at how these bar lines play into measures. So a measure is a space on the staff where notes and other musical notation are placed, and the measure shows time. It shows, from left to right when we count or we clap. Time is happening when we go from left to right. So you can see that in between each bar line, there is a measure. So here we have a bar line, here we have a bar line, and between the 2 bar lines, we have a measure. Between these 2 bar lines, we have a measure. Between these 2 bar lines, we have a measure, and then the song ends at the final bar line. The final bar line is like a stop sign. That's saying, hey guys, it's over. Done. Stop. That's the final bar line. Final bar line is the stop sign. It's the red light. It's saying, hey guys, stop. That's it. It's over. Now, one thing to notice is that in the first measure, there is no bar line at the beginning. Now, this is correct. Whenever we have a bunch of measures in the row, the first measure is not going to have a bar line on the left. Well, the first measure only has 1 bar line here, whereas the second measure, as you can see, has 2 bar lines. Third measure has 2 bar lines. Fourth measure has a regular bar line and a final bar line. Now, 2 more points on measures. The abbreviation for the word measure is M dot. So, for example, this is our first measure here. So, for example, this is our first measure here. This is our second. This is our third. This is our fourth. If I wanted to just write about measure 3, that's this one right here, I would write M dot 3. 3. There we go. Which means measure 3. Measures, the abbreviation for measures is MM dot. So if we're talking about more than one measure, we're going to have measures. So let's say, for example, I wanted to talk about measures 1 through 3. I want to talk about all 3 of these. I would put M dot 1 through 3. That's measures 1 through 3. All right. Those are bar lines, the 3 different types of bar lines, regular, double, and final, as well as measures. Remember, there's no bar line on the left side of the first measure. At the start of the first measure, there's never a bar line. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to take everything you've learned so far, notes, lines, bar lines, final bar lines, measures, and put it all together so you can start to see what music actually looks like. So first, let's look at our measures. In this example, we have measures of 4, which means there's going to be 4 notes or 4 counts in every measure. You can see we have 4 measures total. We have measure 1 is here, measure 2 is here, 3 is here, measure 4 is here. And to keep things super simple, it's not on the staff, it's on a single line. And to keep things simple, the notes are on a single line instead of on the staff. Now you can see that in each measure, there are 4 quarter notes in every single measure. 4 quarter notes. Each one of those quarter notes is going to get a beat, a click, or a count of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Notice that in every measure, when we finish the measure and we get to the bar line, so here in this measure, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. We get to the bar line, and then what happens is we start over from 1 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get to the bar line. What happens? We start again from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every single time. So every time we get to a bar line, we're going to start counting 1 again. So when you were doing your clapping and counting examples, and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, that second one would be in the next measure, or the next after in the next measure, or you can think about it as being after the bar line. So I'm going to clap and count this example here. And I think what is interesting to look at is that, sure, there's going to be 16 clicks of the metronome. The metronome is going to click 16 times. But over those 16 clicks, over those 16 counts, I'm not going to be counting to 16. I'm going to be counting to 4. I'm going to count to 4. I'm going to count to 4. I'm going to count to 4 4 times. And 4 times 4 is, well, it's 16. So this is what this would sound like. So getting the pulse, then I'm going to give myself a count in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. So there were 16 claps. There were 16 counts total. But every time I looped around, every time I finished a measure, went back to 1. Now we can see the same pattern show up in measures of 3. In measures of 3, the only difference is that there are not 4 counts, or there's not 4 quarter notes in each measure. There's 3 counts, or there's 3 quarter notes in each measure. But you can still see everything's working exactly the same. There are 4 measures. There is a final bar line. There are bar lines in between each measure, and the first measure does not have a bar line to the left of it. Now the difference here is, instead of there being 16 counts over 4 measures, there's only going to be 12 counts over these 4 measures, because I'm going to be counting to 3 4 times instead of 4 times in a row. Every time we get to a bar line, we start the count new at 1 every single time. So this is what this would sound like. Giving myself a count in. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Measure 2. 1, 2, 3. Measure 3. 1, 2, 3. Measure 4. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So that was 12 claps or 12 counts. But every time we got to a new measure, we started over at 1. I will see you in the next lesson. In this speedy lesson, we're going to talk about the word attack, because it is important in music. So the word attack in music means something different than the word attack in life. So attack in life is bad. Attack in music is good. So whenever you clap a note or start a sound in music, it doesn't matter what instrument you're playing. If the instrument you're only using is your hands or your voice, that's all fine. As soon as you start the sound, that start of the sound is the attack. So whenever you start a sound in music, that is called an attack, and that's actually the correct use of the word attack in music. You can even find this definition in different dictionaries, something like this: attack, noun, it's a thing, the act or manner of beginning a musical note or musical sound. I would make that a little more broader. So just the act of starting a sound, that's an attack. By the way, a quick note: if you are having trouble clapping for any reason, you have some kind of issue with your hands where you're not able to clap, no worries. You can also tap your foot, or you can click your tongue, or clop your tongue like that. Any way, or even just take a pen or pencil and tap it on a desk or a surface. You do not have to clap. You just need to express the rhythm, and it doesn't matter how you do that. You can do that with anything at your disposal. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand time signatures. What is a time signature? Well, it's 2 numbers stacked on top of each other that you're going to see before the notes in a piece of music. And this time signature is going to tell you how many counts or how many beats are in each measure. So, for example, a couple lessons ago, there were measures of 4 and measures of 3. Now, the time signature will show us if it's going to be measures of 4 or measures of 3 before we even need to look or guess or figure it out in the music. We can look at the time signature, and it's like a little key. It's like a little heads-up display if you're playing a video game that lets you know where you are. This right here lets us know where we are in the music. So the top number is the easiest to understand. So we're going to start with the top number. The top number just shows how many beats or how many counts. Beats, counts, we can think of beats and counts as the same thing. How many beats or how many counts there are in a measure. So right here, the top number is 4, which means there are going to be 4 beats or 4 counts in the measure. Over here, the top number is 3. That means there are 3 beats or 3 counts in the measure. Top number, easy. That just shows us how many beats or how many counts there are in the measure. The bottom number gets a little bit more tricky, so buckle in. Here we go. The bottom number of a time signature shows the denominator of the fraction that corresponds to the name of the rhythmic value of the note that gets the beat. Whoa! Let's break that down. So the bottom number shows the denominator of the fraction that corresponds to the name of the rhythmic value of the note that gets the beat. Now I know that's complicated, so we're going to break it down with a nice chart. How about that? Okay, so let's look at this time signature. The bottom number, that's going to be in the blue circle. The bottom number is 4. Okay, so bottom number is 4. Let's imagine 4 with a 1 on top of it as a fraction. So 1 over 4 as a fraction. The name of the fraction of 1 over 4 is quarter, which means the quarter note is going to get the beat or get the count. Now, when a note gets the beat, it lines up with a count number, and every other note value is compared to the note value that gets the beat. So, for example, if a quarter note gets 1 beat or 1 count, and a half note gets 2 beats or 2 counts, we're saying the quarter note gets the beat or the count, and for every 2 quarter notes, there's going to be 1 half note. And remember, the whole note gets 4 beats or 4 counts. So what we're saying is there's 4 quarter notes worth of time in every whole note. Now, if this doesn't make 100% sense, don't worry about it. I'm going to review it one more time, and in the next lesson, we're going to do another dive into time signatures. Okay, the top number of a time signature is easy. That just shows us how many beats or how many counts per measure. The bottom number of the time signature is where things get tricky. So you're going to take the bottom number, you're going to put a 1 over it, you're going to turn it into a fraction. So the bottom number is 4. Put a 1 over it, turn it into a fraction. That's 1 over 4. 1/4, another way of saying 1/4 is a quarter. So the name of the fraction is a quarter, which means the quarter note is going to be what gets the count or what gets the beat. And when a note gets the beat, what we mean is one of those notes. So 1 quarter note, it gets the beat, which means 1 quarter note is equal to 1 count, whereas a half note is equal to 2 counts or 2 beats, and a whole note is equal to 4 counts or 4 beats, but we're saying the quarter note equals 1 beat or 1 count, and then we're going to figure out the half note and the whole note from there, because we're saying the quarter note is worth 1, half note is worth double that, whole note is worth quadruple that. The quarter note is worth 1 beat or 1 count, and we compare the half note and the whole note to that quarter note. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we are going to break down the time signature of 3/4. Now, you may hear this referred to as 3/4 time, or 3/4 time, or waltz time. Well, its real name is 3/4 time. Calling it 3/4 time is technically incorrect because it's not a fraction. There's no line in the middle here to say that it's a fraction. Therefore, 3/4, not really. It's 3/4 time. Now let's break this down. So we have 3/4 at the beginning, which means there's going to be 3 beats or 3 counts in every measure. And that 4, we're going to take the 4, we put a 1 over it. What's the name of that fraction right there? 1 over 4, that equals quarter. And so that's going to be the quarter note gets the beat or count. And sure enough, we can see that in each measure, there's 1 quarter note for every single count. Quarter note gets the count. One quarter note is equal to one count or one beat. So you can see, sure enough, we have 4 measures of 3 counts each. The first measure does not have a bar line to the left of it, but it does have a time signature. At the end, we have our final bar line. Okay, let's break down the time signature of 4/4 one more time. Okay, so we look at 4/4. The top number means how many beats or how many counts are on the measure. That's easy. The bottom number is a 4. So we take the 4. We're going to put a 1 over it, turn it into a fraction. The name of that fraction is a quarter. The quarter note gets the beat. The quarter note gets the count. Sure enough, we can see that each quarter note is lined up with a beat or a count. Beat, count, we can use them to mean the same thing. So you can see, sure enough, in our first measure, there is no bar line here at the beginning, but there is a time signature. If you were wondering why there's no bar line at the beginning, it's because, well, we need somewhere to put the time signature. We can see that we have 4 measures here, and in each of these 4 measures, there are 4 beats or 4 counts. Great. That lines up with our top number of the time signature. And we can also see that in each one of these 4 measures, there are 4 quarter notes, and each quarter note gets a beat or gets a count. Another way of saying that, it aligns with the beat, it aligns with the count. Another way of saying that is each quarter note is only worth 1 beat or 1 count worth of time. Let's look at one more time signature. So because 4/4 is actually the most popular time signature in modern music, it's also called common time. And to save us all some energy having to write a bunch of 4s, you can actually abbreviate 4/4 with a C. This right here is actually a time signature, believe it or not. Just the letter C is in and of itself a time signature, and the letter C just means common time or 4/4. So if you ever see a C instead of a time signature, it actually is a time signature, and it means 4/4. And sure enough, we can see that there are 4 beats or 4 counts in every measure. That's our top number. And to agree with our bottom number of the time signature, we have 4 quarter notes in every single measure, and each quarter note is lining up with a beat or a count. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to do a breakdown and a deep dive into how to write time signatures. The top number of the time signature is always going to go between line 5 and 3. So let's say we want to write a 4/4 time signature. We're going to write a 4. Actually use the lines. See that? From line 3 to 5. There you go. And then the bottom number of the time signature goes directly below the top number, and that goes from line 1 to line 3. Or line 3 to line 1. There you go. And you can see that I'm using the lines of the staff to help me write my 4. So that's a 4/4 time signature. Now if we were to write a 3/4 time signature, the top number is going to be a 3. And then the bottom number is going to be a 4. Again, the top number is going to take up the space from line 5 to line 3. The bottom number takes up the space from line 3 to line 1. The only 2 time signatures you are going to need for level 1 are going to be 4/4 and 3/4. So practice writing these on some staff paper, practice writing them out in your workbook, and I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to read, write, and understand a percussion clef. Percussion clefs are used for rhythm and clapping. So this clef, think like key, like the key that opens the understanding of what's going to happen. The clef shows that only rhythm and counting is needed in the music that follows. So remember, rhythm, it's a light switch. It's on or it's off. There's sound or there's silence. And what the percussion clef does is it lets everyone know all we're thinking about for all the notes that come after the percussion clef is sound and silence. Is the light switch on? Is the light switch off? A clef is a musical symbol that is placed at the left-hand side of the staff. Now, there are many different clefs that make the notes that follow them mean different things. Most common are treble and bass clef. We're going to get to treble clef later on in this course, but for now we're just going to focus on the percussion clef. So you can see the percussion clef, this is on a single line. This is the percussion clef on the staff. It is two vertical lines next to each other. So to write a percussion clef, all you got to do is write a line from line 4 to line 2 of the staff, and then a second line from line 4 to line 2 of the staff. And yeah, you could make them a little thicker, but honestly, if you just have a pen or a pencil, save yourself some time. Just write one single line from line 4 to line 2, from line 4 to line 2, and there you go. You're all done. So to recap, the percussion clef means that all the notes that happen after the percussion clef, we're not worried about if they're low. We're not worried about if they're high. We're just worried about, is there sound, is there silence? We're just going to think in the world of rhythm. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be clapping and counting, clap and count 1 and clap and count 2, also known as examples 9 and 10. So as a quick reminder, in 3/4, the count in and also the count is 1, 2, 3. So let's take a look at what we have here. We don't just have quarter notes, we now have a mix of half notes and quarter notes. So let's look, we have, oh, there's a percussion clef, which means we're not worried about how high and how low the notes are. We're just worried about the rhythm. There's a time signature of 3/4. 3 means 3 counts or 3 beats per measure, and the 4 means the quarter note gets the beat or gets the count, which means the half notes are going to get 2, whole notes are going to get 4, but you won't see whole notes in 3/4 because whole notes get 4 counts. There's only 3 counts in every measure in 3/4, so it won't fit in the measure. So here is example 9. I'm going to start the metronome. I'm going to listen to the pulse. Once I get a good feeling for the speed and I know where it is, I'm going to give myself a count in of 3, and then I'm going to snap and count as best I can while also showing you where I am. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So you can clap and count that, but that's the idea. Now, again, I'm going to show you where I am as best I can with my left hand. The line's going to be a little shaky, but that's going to be great. And I'm going to snap as we go. So first things first, let's look at the clef. The clef is a percussion clef. Great. We don't need to worry about how high or how low the notes are. We just need to worry about, is there sound and is there silence? Time signature is 3/4. Great. That means we're going to be counting to 3 in every measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. Also, our count-in is going to be for 3 whenever we see the 3/4. So we're going to start the metronome, listen to it, get the speed, and then we're going to count in 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's it. You can clap and count that as well. Follow along with examples 9 and 10 from your book examples. Now let's look at clap and count 3 and clap and count 4, which are examples 11 and 12. So just a reminder that in 4/4 and in common time is the same as 4/4. The count in is 1, 2, 3, 4. The count for every measure is 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be 4 beats or 4 counts in every measure, and the quarter note gets the beat or gets the count is another way of saying that. So let's look at example 11 before we start. Percussion clef, great. Not how low, how high, just on and off, just rhythm. Time signature, 4/4. 4 beats, 4 counts per measure. Here we go with the count in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. We're going to do the same thing for example 12. Example 12, we can see that the time signature is C for common time. Percussion clef, we're good to go with a count in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Don't forget to go through examples 9 through 12 with your book examples. Practice clapping and counting 9 through 12 with your book examples with this video, and of course by yourself with the metronome and the book. I'll see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand the 3 things that you might be doing when you write music, and then in the next lesson, you're actually going to learn how to start writing music with notes and measures and time signatures and clefs all together. So let's start off by talking about what you might be doing when you write music down on paper. So you might be creating something brand new. This is called an original composition or an original song. When you create something new, this is called composition or the act of composing. This is when you create original, which means unique to you, means you've never done it before, combinations of notes in your measures. Completing an exercise. Your music theory coach, oh, that's me, might assign a particular exercise for you to do in the workbook, like going through the workbook, like writing down notes, for example. Now, these can include specific examples, or you might have an assignment to create a composition, as you will see in your workbook. So when you write music down, you might be completing an exercise. The third thing you might be doing when you write music down is copying another piece of music. This is called transcription, or the act of transcribing. You can transcribe music that you hear onto paper. You can also copy other written music onto paper. And again, I'm saying paper, but you could be writing it into a software program or marking up a digital paper on your tablet. Now, the act of hearing music and writing it down, that's a combination of 2 skills. That's the combination of a skill called ear training and the skill of music theory. So right now, you're learning music theory, you're learning how to write the music down, but learning to take music you hear, also hear in your head, and write it down. That's ear training plus music theory. So I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to talk about how you can know how many notes and which notes you can put in which measure with which time signature. I'll see you there. In this lesson, you are going to learn all about measure math. Now, I know you signed up for a music theory course, not a math course, but trust me here, just a little bit of math is going to help you so much. Okay, so the measure math rules are, well, there's only one of them. Every measure must add up to the number of beats indicated in the top number of the time signature. So remember, the top number of the time signature shows us how many beats or how many counts there are in each measure. So you need to make sure that when you write music into measures, you are agreeing with and following that top number. Let's look at some measure math for 4/4. And we're going to do that with 3 types of notes. Whole notes, which get 4 beats or 4 counts. Half notes, which get 2 beats or 2 counts. And quarter notes, which get 1 beat or 1 count each. Now, we can have stem up or stem down for half notes. It's still going to be worth 2 beats either way. We can have stem up or stem down for quarter notes, worth 1 beat either way. So let's look at some measure math for 4/4. In 4/4, every measure must contain exactly 4 beats or 4 counts worth of notes. You can combine any notes together just so long as you keep each measure to only 4 beats or 4 counts worth of notes. So let's look at some incorrect examples first. So we can see, sure, we got a percussion clef, we've got time signature of 4/4, and in this first measure, incorrect, there's 2 beats. So there's 2 quarter notes. A quarter note is worth 1 beat or 1 count each, and there's only 2 quarter notes in the measure. We can see, sure enough, we have a bar line over here, and by the time we get to the bar line, all we have are 2 quarter notes. Wrong. Let's take a look at the next measure. Ooh, and the next measure, this is a fun one. We have 2 quarter notes and a whole note. So a quarter note gets 1 beat or 1 count each. A whole note gets 4 beats or 4 counts. So that is essentially 1, 1, plus 1, plus 4, which equals 6. That is no good because we can only have 4 beats or 4 counts in each measure when the time signature is 4, 4. Let's look at the next measure. In the next measure, between the two bar lines, we only have one single solitary lonely old quarter note. And that lonely old quarter note only gets 1 beat or 1 count, which means we're missing 3 beats or 3 counts because each measure needs 4 beats or 4 counts worth of notes in it. And here in our last measure, we have a half note and a quarter note. A half note gets 2 beats or 2 counts, and a quarter note gets 1 beat or 1 count. That's 2 plus 1, which equals 3 beats. And we need it to be 4. So now let's look at some correct examples for 4, 4. Sure enough, you can see here, there's 1 whole note in the measure. A whole note is 4 beats or 4 counts. That is great. 2 half notes in a measure. That's 2 plus 2. That's good. Oh, 4 quarter notes. That's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That equals 4 beats. That's good. Now we have a quarter. That's 1. Plus a half note. That's 2. Plus a quarter. That's 1. 1 plus 2 plus 1. 4 beats, 4 counts. So you need to make sure that every measure has exactly 4 beats or 4 counts. Now what you cannot do is you cannot start a note at the end of a measure that goes past a bar line. Now what I mean by that is this. Let's say we have this measure here exactly as it is. So we have 1 plus 1 plus 1. Now let's imagine for a moment that this here is in fact a half note, not a quarter note. That doesn't work because this half note is in this measure. That's going to be plus 2. That's going to equal 5. And that is no good. Excellent. I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to break down 3/4 correct and incorrect measure math. See you there. In this lesson, you are going to understand measure math for the time signature of 3/4. So just like with 4/4, that top number was 4. That means we needed 4 beats or 4 counts worth of notes in every single measure. For 3/4, the top number is 3. That means we need 3 beats or 3 counts worth of notes in every single measure. That also means we cannot use a whole note because a whole note is worth 4 beats or 4 counts, and we can only have 3 beats or 3 counts in every single measure. So the whole note does not fit, as we will see. Let's look at some incorrect examples. So here we have just 1 quarter note. Sure enough, time signature says a 3 on top. That means we are missing 2. Where's our other 2 beats? We need 2 more beats to get this to 3. Time signature is 3/4, and we have here a whole note. Well, that's no good because we need 1 less because this needs to equal 3 to agree with the time signature. Here we have a half note plus 3 quarter notes. Well, that's 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which equals 5, which is no good because we need to agree with the 3 of the time signature. And in the last measure, we just have 1 half note. A half note equals 2 beats. Well, that's no good either because each measure needs to equal how many? 3 to agree with the time signature. Okay, now let's look at some correct examples. Now, as you can see here, sure enough, the time signature is 3/4. Which means every measure needs 3 beats or 3 counts worth of notes in it. So we have 2 plus 1. Great. That's 3. That agrees with the time signature. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. Fantastic. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Great. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. That almost looks like a 7, but trust me, folks, it's a 1, and there's 3 beats or 3 counts in that measure. So whenever you write in 3/4, make sure that in every single measure, you have 3 beats or 3 counts worth of notes. No more and no less. You cannot write a whole note in any measure in 3/4 because a whole note gets 4 beats or 4 counts, and each measure of 3/4 can only hold 3 beats or 3 counts. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand how to write lines of music. Now, this lesson is going to be split into 2 parts. The first part, I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to point to some examples. In the second part of this lesson, I'm actually going to get on some staff and talk you through it in real time as I go through it. So, step number 1 is going to be to divide an entire line of staff in half with a single bar line. You see that bar line right there in the middle? That is what you need to do. Just divide the staff in half with the bar line. Then you're going to add 2 more bar lines, one on the left and one on the right, dividing the staff into quarters. So 1, 2, 3, 4 measures you should have. 4 measures you should have. There we go. All right. In step 3, you're going to add a percussion clef, a time signature, and a final bar line. Here's the final bar line at the end, closing it up. Here's the time signature. Here's the percussion clef. Now, your time signature can be 4/4 or it can be 3/4. Either way is fine. You should experiment with both. As a last step, you are going to use your understanding of measure math to fill in each measure with the correct number of beats or counts worth of notes to agree with the top number of the time signature. Oh, that turned into a heart. That's perfect. So you can see, sure enough, in each one of these measures, there's 4 beats or 4 counts worth of notes. Let's hop into some staff paper, and I'm actually going to talk you through it and walk you through it in real time. Here we go. Step number 1 is to divide the staff in half with a single bar line. So in half, there we go. Use a ruler if you can to get your lines real straight. Then we're going to add a bar line to the right, add a bar line to the left to give us 4 measures total. Then what we're going to do, we're going to add a final bar line. So that's going to be 1 regular bar line, a little bit of space, and then another line that's about that thick. And you can see here's my one issue with what I just did, is that you can see those bumps of the lines of the staff. There you go. We want that closed off clean like that. We don't want to see those bumps of the staff sticking out, those extra ends of the lines. Then we're going to go to the left side of the staff where, sure enough, we've left that extra space. There's no bar line at the beginning of measure 1, and that's because at the beginning of measure 1, first we're going to write a percussion clef, and then we're going to write a time signature. I'm going to write 3/4. You could write 3/4 or 4/4. Well, let's make that 3 just a little larger there. Here we go. There we go. That's better. 3, 4. Excellent. And there you go. That's ready to now write 3 beats or 3 counts worth of notes in every single measure. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to actually write all my note heads on line 3 of the staff. That's 1, 2. Let's make that more oval, shall we? 1, 2. Here's beat 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And the next measure, you know what? We're going to do the opposite. We're going to start with a quarter note. That's going to be beat 1. There you go. We add the stem. And then we're going to add a half note for beats 2 and 3. There you go. In the next measure, we are going to add 3 quarter notes. That's going to be a 1, a 2, and a 3. And then in the last measure, we are going to end as we started with a half note and then a quarter note. And you can see that each one of these measures, sure enough, is worth 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 beats, or 3 counts. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to do a review of everything you have learned so far. There's still a couple more lessons left in this module, but this is going to summarize everything up to this point to actually allow you to start writing your own original rhythmic compositions. So you can actually come back and use page 24 whenever you want as a quick reference when you are writing to make sure you're doing everything the right way. So you don't have to flip through different pages of the book. You can just come straight to page 24, and that's going to have all the rules you need. So how to write music in 4/4. Number 1, every measure must add up to 4. Notes cannot cross the measure lines, which means you cannot write a half note on beat 4, on count 4, and then have it extend into the next measure. Each measure must have only 4 beats or 4 counts, and if you follow rule 1, rule 2 doesn't even matter. Rule number 3, whole notes can only be written on beat 1. That's right, you can't write a quarter note and then a whole note, because then that would be 5 beats in the measure, and we can only have 4. Half notes can be written or start on beats 1, 2, and 3. Quarter notes can be written on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. You set up a line of music for yourself with the percussion clef and time signature of 4/4. Don't forget your final bar line. And then you write 4 beats worth of notes in each measure for the entire line of staff. To write a piece of music in 3/4, every measure must add up to 3. Notes cannot cross the measure lines, but if you followed rule number 1, rule number 2 won't even matter. Rule number 3, a whole note cannot be written in 3/4. This is because a whole note gets 4 beats or 4 counts, and each measure in 3/4 can only hold 3 beats in total. Half notes can be written on beats 1 and 2, and quarter notes can be written on beats 1, 2, and 3. You set up a line of music for yourself with the percussion clef and a time signature and a final bar line, and then you're going to write 3 beats worth of notes in each measure. As a reminder, measure math rules. Every measure must add up to the number of beats indicated in the top number of the time signature. Whole notes get 4 beats or 4 counts. Half notes get 2 beats or 2 counts. And quarter notes get 1 beat or 1 count. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you are going to understand all about note spacing and why note spacing is important when you are writing your own compositions. Each note should line up with a beat or division of the measure. So for example, this piece of music is in 4/4. You see the time signature says 4/4. So that means we're going to imagine in our minds that each measure is divided into 4 equal parts. See that? 4 equal parts. 4 equal parts to each measure. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that whatever beat or whatever count the note you're writing lands on, you're going to write it over that beat or count or over that division of the measure. Let's break down what that means. So you can see that underneath the staff, there's a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that count? And you see how that count is evenly spaced out? Each 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is exactly the same distance from each other. Well, that right there is your division of 4, your imaginary division of 4, within each measure. So let's look at measure 1. And sure enough, each quarter note is lining up exactly with a beat or a count. Now what's interesting is if we compare measure 1 and measure 2, you see we have 2 half notes, but these 2 half notes are not written right next to each other. No, they are spaced out evenly so they each take up half the measure. So you see this half note here gets 2 beats or 2 counts, and it takes up the space for 2 beats or 2 counts. Same thing with this half note right here. takes up 2 beats or 2 counts. Let's look at measure 3. Measure 3 is interesting. So we have a quarter note taking up 1 beat or 1 count worth of space. Then we have a half note taking up 2 beats or 2 counts worth of space. And then finally a quarter note coming and taking up 1 beat or 1 count worth of space. Now you can see the whole note starts over beat number 1 and it takes up the entire measure of space. So this is what we mean by note spacing. And you can do the same exact type of thing if the music is in 3/4. So let's go back a little bit and check out our correct example of 3/4. And if we look at 3/4, we're going to divide the measure into 1, 2, 3 equal parts. 2, 3. And sure enough, we can see here that this half note is getting 2 beats or 2 counts worth of space. This quarter note is getting 1 beat or 1 count worth of space. And each quarter note gets 1 beat or 1 count worth of space in the measure. So what you're trying to do with note spacing is, in addition to showing the rhythmic value of the note, so you're not just showing the whole note, the half note, the quarter note, you're also showing how long each one lasts compared to the other. So remember, because the bottom number of the time signature is 4, that means the quarter note gets the beat or count, which means a quarter note is going to get 1 division of the measure. So if we're in 3/4, 1 quarter note gets 1/3 of the measure. If we're in 4/4, a quarter note gets 1/4 of the measure. And then the half note in 3/4 would get 2/3 of the measure, and the half note in 4/4 gets half of the measure. And then in 3/4, you can't write a whole note. So a whole note gets 4 beats, 4 counts, or the entire measure in 4/4. Let's look at some incorrect note spacing now that you understand these rules. Yeah, sure enough, you see how these notes are not evenly spaced out in each one of their divisions? Oh, that's no good. So you almost have like 2 notes in that one division, and then there's nothing over here in division number 4. See, this half note has got to go all the way back here. This half note has got to go back here. It's a mess. This half note should be over beat 2. Yeah, it really is messy. And this whole note here should be over beat 1. So when you space your notes out correctly, in addition to making it super, super clear which notes go where, you actually show anyone who wants to play your music, or you make it easier for yourself to read your music, because you're showing the actual amount of time that each note takes in the measure. I will see you in the next lesson. Now everything really comes together. The note heads, the stems, the measures, the bar lines, the final bar lines, the time signature, the percussion clef, the measure math, the note spacing, all come together to allow you to now go and write your own music, your own rhythmic compositions whenever you want. So when you write your own compositions, it is an opportunity to create something new, something special, and something that shows and expresses your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and ideas. A certain amount of thinking needs to be put into remembering the rules, like remembering how many line length you need to make each stem, the different types of note heads, counting beats, remembering how to write notes correctly. And the sooner you can remember and memorize all these fundamentals, the sooner you are going to free yourself to focus on creativity and your expression. So to write and perform your own compositions in 3/4 and 4/4, you're going to pick a line or a space on the staff. You can write all the notes on one line or space of the staff, not different lines. You can pick one line or one space, and I'll show you down here. We have one composition where all the notes are in space 1, and here's a composition where all the notes are on line 4. So you pick one line or one space of the staff. Then you write your composition in 3/4 or 4/4. Obviously in there, you're going to need to set up your line of staff for yourself to write with the final bar line, the percussion clef, the time signature, the bar lines. Then check your measure math, make sure it is correct. Then add clapping arrows if you need them, add a count of the beats if you need it below the staff, and then clap and count your composition with a metronome. If you're part of the VIP group, please post recordings of yourself writing and performing your own original compositions. If you're not part of the VIP group, post to the general music theory group, and you can also just tag Best Music Coach on any social media platform with a video or photo of your composition or of yourself performing your composition. And we love, 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 love to see you taking the first steps in writing your own music. I will see you in the next lesson. Oh, but it's not over yet. Click here to watch the next video lesson, or up here for the full video playlist.